We have all had it, that feeling, the excitement, the wonderment of trying something new that you didn't know existed. But after you tried it, you know your life will never be the same. Your life is forever changed because of something new, a new beginning. And the coolest part of it all is you may not know it's a new beginning until decades later. But something takes you all the way back to the start. Today, I'm going to tell a few stories about that journey and about the beginning. I got invited to the Northern International Audio and Visual Show in Penang, Malaysia. So this is the story of two guys, Wilson and Ashwin. Wilson has been putting on shows, events, mostly musical shows in Penang the last 20 years. Ashwin is in charge of bringing events to Penang. Most of the times he's bringing in events for the medical industry or the computer industry or for marine biology. He wants to bring things fun, like music, like gaming to Penang. And he came across hi-fi. He knew Wilson was interested in hi-fi and already had a really good system. They'd known each other for 20 years, so he said, hey, let's put on a show. They started in Kuala Lumpur with a small show in 2021. The first show in Penang was 2022, very small. But Ashwin said people came, sales were being made, and he saw an opportunity. And Ashwin still could not wrap his head around the fact that some of these speakers cost as much as, in his words, a luxury car. They wanted to do it again, and they waited till 2024. He wanted to have workshops, talks, engagement, and something that's really cool, live music throughout the entire show, during the day, big events at night. He also wanted to bring in the younger generation with headphones. So he thought, 3 days of concerts will be fun. Let's just make it a festival. While you're having an AV show, at the same time, each night, there's a music festival going on. And I'm not talking about a small event. I'm talking a music festival. So they featured young and upcoming local artists. They featured artists that have been established for a long time that were from the area. In his words, he wanted Woodstock. And guess how much he charged? $0. He told me that he's laying the foundation for success now. It's very interesting because he was thinking 5 years down the road, not right now, not this year. He also said he wanted to make a big first impression. And they did that with me. Not only the hospitality at the event of everyone, how they treated me, how they treated some of the other content creators, the beauty of the city, the wonderful food. Oh, the food was so good. But just what a different experience it was with all the live events. And it just makes sense. Let's have music at an AV show. You know, because they listen to music. There's families at this show. There's young people enjoying music. There's established audiophiles. They have big brands there. Marantz, B&W, Weem, Fozzy Audio. But this is a trip that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And it's being put on by people that care about the future, not only of Penang, but of the hobby in general. I was really blown away about just how different this was. And it's a big deal in Penang. They had political figures coming in, opening the ceremonies, and they invited me for some reason. This is the story of Theben and Garrick. Theben started a store called TechX Audio and Visual in Kuala Lumpur. Prior to him having that store, there was nothing really available for affordable hi-fi gear. So a lot of the stuff that I talk about, Weem, Fozzy Audio, they sell Cantu, they sell iFi, they sell Cambridge Audio. I asked him why he started it, because he's a petroleum engineer, actually went to school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But he loves hi-fi. He'd always go into Best Buy and buy a bunch of stuff. He had a passion for hi-fi. But nobody was selling affordable gear, so he actually started with monoprice cables in 2020 at an online store. And his motivation was not to make a ton of money on hi-fi, but to bring affordable and approachable gear to the people of Malaysia. Garrick is actually a customer. He works there full time now. The cool thing is they follow up with every customer. Every sale that they make, they follow up. And Garrick takes you through the entire setup process when you're buying stuff. And we're talking affordable products here. So companies like TechX are changing the landscape, really opening up affordable audio to an entire area in the world that was completely underserved. Wasn't served at all, really. Great guy, great company, great story. This is the story of AA Audio and kitchen table streamers. This is Anwar Ali. He makes USB cables. He makes XLR cables. He makes RCA cables. And he makes high-end streamers, all on his kitchen table. And he's very thorough. He tried over 5 different transformers before he found the one that he liked the best for his streamer. He collaborates with other companies. Anwar, as well as many others, have just accepted that cables do make a difference sonically. We're not here to argue that point. Anwar stands behind his products and encourages others to bring their own cables and compare them. Anwar thinks everything makes a difference, and more expensive connectors don't necessarily mean better sound. You could call him a curator of USB connectors and capacitors, where 30 microns of gold is better than 5 microns of gold. And it all can be better even at the same price. The point is, he tests everything by ear and with scientific instruments. He's actually a retired mechanical engineer for a major computer manufacturer. Transformers matter, capacitors matter. Whether or not you think it makes a difference, it doesn't matter. He's going to continue making cables and streamers on his kitchen table. He readily admits that his streamer doesn't sound as good as a $6,000 CD player or a CD transport. But that's his main goal. His quest is to make a streamer that sounds as good as a CD player. And I'm pretty confident that he's going to succeed. And he did all of this from his home at the kitchen table because he wants the best sound. I think that's really cool. Right now he's only selling in Malaysia and the surrounding countries where he can ship. But hopefully soon we'll be able to get some of AA audio cables here in the United States. This is Jason, and he lives in Penang. He's about my age, 48 years old, and he is the owner of NNL Oris. They make amplifiers. He built his first Class AB amp in the early 80s because he couldn't afford one. It's going to be a through line here. He couldn't afford one, so he made his own. Foreshadowing. I asked him how he learned how to do it. He said he studied hundreds of magazines to make his first amplifier. Magazines like Everyday Electronics, Silicon Chip from Australia, and he's been making amps for over 30 years. I asked him how many different amplifier designs he's made. He didn't speak very good English, but he kind of chuckled and he said, a lot. I said over 100, and he just shook his head. Yes, over 100. He sells locally in Penang, Malaysia. He's got a little Facebook page. He just loves doing it. When he built his first amp, he had to get all of his parts locally. I mean, think about the dedication. Think about the passion for making something that you're literally digging through electronics parts bins to find something that works. The coolest thing he had there, in my opinion, was a Class A amplifier, which had a choke front end that was actually a separate component. And he's only selling it for about $1,500 US. Now granted, if you buy it from the US, it's going to be a lot of money to ship it over because it's heavy. But $1,500, and it puts out 80 watts into 8 ohms and over 100 into 4 ohms. He builds them in his home office. On his tube amps, he uses point-to-point soldering and wiring to keep his design simple, and he puts the costs where he thinks it will make the biggest difference. Again, he is testing each type of component by ear and only putting the money where he thinks the most performance comes from. He'll also voice amplifiers to the customer's preference, which I think is pretty cool. Basically, you're getting a custom amplifier made for you. I think we could learn a lot from Jason at NNL Oris. All right, so my story. Why was this trip important? Personally, for me, I began in 1983, 84 with a portable cassette player. That's kind of what got me into this hobby. Today, I do this full time. I talk about speakers. I talk about amplifiers. I make videos. This is a very special trip for me. I feel like an imposter a lot of the times when I'm making these videos. I don't feel as legitimate as other YouTubers, like they're the experts and I'm just a guy messing around. So getting invited to this trip and being treated as well as I was kind of made me feel, I don't know, legitimate. And I know that's crazy because I've been doing this full time for a couple of years now, but it kind of dawned on me that, oh, maybe I am legitimate. Maybe I actually have a legitimate YouTube channel. But it wasn't just that. It was this. I have been wanting to get my hands on a FIO cassette player, and I know I've made like 3 videos on it at this point. Anyway, I saw one at the show. I have another full video that talks about how they were out of stock, but I got one anyway. But the point was, that little product signified the beginning of my journey into hi-fi. So we have a little cassette player there. We have me being taken back to the beginning of my hi-fi journey. We have me in Malaysia. I'm shooting videos. People are being super nice to me. I feel important. So it was kind of like the convergence of my beginnings and where I'm at today. And how traveling halfway across the world reminded me of why I got into this hobby in the first place. And that's because I love music. I love listening to something and it changing the way I feel. And so the hi-fi scene in Penang is kind of in its infancy. It's just starting. So it's the beginning. I think they're doing things that everybody should be doing, like Munich, like Capital Audio Fest, like Expona. And to me, it's crazy that this is like year 2. Like, what is year 5 gonna look like over there? What is that market gonna look like over there? So this trip was important for a lot of reasons. But the biggest reason for me is because it took me back to the beginning. And my hope for you is if you're watching, you remember what got you into this hobby in the first place. And you revisit it. Go back, listen to that music. Go back, remember the times, remember what you were doing. Because if you're anything like me, it's gonna bring you a lot of joy. I wanna thank all the folks in Malaysia for making this trip happen. And if you ever get a chance, please do yourself a favor and visit Penang. And maybe next year go to the Northern International AV Show. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, check out my other video from Penang.